Happy Tuesday. Many thanks for joining the program. The news in detail with me, Gloria Mutisi. Starting us off tonight, President Paul Kagame has pointed out that no one should disrespect Africans despite the numerous challenges they face on their continent. The Rwandan head of state made the comments during the UBA Group's annual Africa Day Symposium. Sessionary kicks us off tonight's bulletin with that story.
The symposium featured key speakers, and President Paul Kagame noted that the COVID-19 pandemic has shown Africa the need to address certain issues about how things are done on the continent, overcome them, and take strategic measures to find a long-term solution to the challenges it has presented.
We are working together as a continent with partners to build Africa's vaccine manufacturing capacity. But we can also learn from this shock to invest much more of our budgets in our national health systems.
So far, Africa has vaccinated just 1.5% of our entire population against COVID-19, and efforts by President Paul Kagame to address this pressing issue have been commended.
WHO is working day in and day out to bring immediate solutions for the equitable distribution of vaccine doses. But it's clear that Africa cannot rely solely on imports of vaccines from the rest of the world. We must build that capacity not only for COVID-19 vaccines, but for other vaccines and medical products. The cooperation of the private and public sectors will be essential in this effort. I know that this is an area that President Kagame feels very strongly about and is working towards, and he's taking concrete action.
It has also been pointed out that it is in the world's best interests to ensure that Africans are vaccinated.
The IMF just did an interesting study where they showed that if we spend $50 billion additional to vaccinate 40% of the world's population by 2021 and another up to 60% by 2022, we will be able to reverse this vaccine inequity, and the world can actually gain $9 trillion more by 2025. I mean, the numbers are staggering. Compare 50 billion to 9 trillion that we could make if we did this right. And because I'm a finance minister, we could collect an additional $1 trillion in taxes. This is something they've also talked about. So it's important for the world that Africa, that we reverse this vaccine inequity and Africa benefits from it. We cannot recover sustainably without it. So we have to fight for it, whether it's getting more vaccines in from outside production, whether it's manufacturing our own.
With Africa still facing numerous security challenges, in addition to others like COVID, President Paul Kagame has pointed out that no one should disrespect Africans despite the numerous challenges they face on their continent.
I think mutual respect is the best form of relationship. We talk about problems of Africa, deprivation, poverty, and this and that. No, it shouldn't be about us. This is not our identity.
Wow.
We are just there because we happen to be there, whether it was mistakes by ourselves or by others or a combination of both. But that's not where we should be. This is not us. This is not how we... So we must get out of this. And by that, there are interactions that have to be entered into with other parts of the world, with other people. And you respect them. So must they respect us. There's no question about it. The fact that somebody is poor does not take away the respect, the dignity that people want. And that's why in the speeches, I know sometimes it falls on deaf ears. There are those who have made it their way of life to disrespect others, especially to disrespect our continent. But the worst comes when, even within the continent, we may not have that full respect for each other. But that's another thing. But anyway, it is just bad manners. It is not productive. Why would you disrespect anyone?
Africa Day is celebrated every year on the 25th of May in commemoration of the founding of the Organization of the African Union in 1963 that was later replaced by the current AU as we know it.
Now, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Kagame, delivered a message to the participants of a meeting on the support of development activities in the world as the world grapples with the pandemic and the period afterwards. Discussions were held about the mining industry and other raw materials used by other industries. President Paul Kagame noted that investment and support is needed to speed up transition to renewable energy through investments in new technologies and the distribution of technology.
I thank the Secretary General for focusing the world's attention on the role that extractive industries can play in pursuit of sustainable green energy and economic development. The world is on a path to decarbonization. This implies significant changes to energy policies, particularly around coal and other fossil fuels. But these energy sources won't disappear overnight. For some developing countries, fossil fuels will remain an important part of the energy mix. However, we can focus on development finance to speed up the transition to renewable energy through investments in new technologies and distribution networks. Rwanda, for example, has decided to embark on a shift to electric vehicles in the coming years. Rwanda is also committed to upgrading to clean cooling technologies, in line with the Kigali Amendment to the Montreal Protocol. Mining and other extractive industries have a bad reputation, sometimes deservedly so. Sometimes the revenues don't flow where they should in the public interest, or environmental impacts are not accounted for. Yet, minerals and metals are key inputs to many high-tech growth sectors, and Africa is a source of many of these materials.
Now, staying on presidential matters, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Kagame, chaired the virtual 38th session of the NEPAD Agency Heads of State and Government Orientation Committee. President Kagame, who currently chairs the committee, described it as a platform for finding solutions to problems that threaten Africa's development, as well as reflecting on key issues, including those caused by the COVID-19 pandemic.
In line with the institutional reform of the African Union, the NEPAD Planning and Coordination Agency was transformed into the African Union Development Agency, AUDA, NEPAD, in 2018, with a robust new mandate, governing structure, and rules of procedure. We must make sure that this enhanced agency strengthens delivery on our continent's key priority areas, and resources mobilization will remain a key factor for achieving our goals. The strength of our health systems and institutions have been tested over the past year. At the last African Union Summit in February 2021, I recommended that AUDA NEPAD be assigned the responsibility for providing technical support to member states and regions to increase domestic health financing, working together with our partners. This is a critical role for the agency in line with the African Leadership Meeting Declaration of February 2019. Similarly, we should seize the opportunity to establish the African Medicines Agency, AMA, this year by signing and ratifying this important treaty.
Moving on, tremors have continued to affect life in Rubavu district of Rwanda's western province, damaging buildings and prompting the closure of some roads and Gisenyi market because of the falling debris from storied buildings in the town. The tremors are so serious, some residents began fleeing eastwards towards other parts of the country. Congolese nationals have also continued to cross into Rwanda, fleeing the Nyiragongo area. Sessionary continues.
The damage in Rubavu district is clear to see on buildings and roads, so much so many have been closed, and so has Gisenyi's market, with fears that remaining in such quarters as the earth shakes is not a good idea.
With so many buildings cracking all around the market, administrators told us to leave. I am trying to sell my perishables and go home to see how my children are. We are now selling our produce very cheaply just to get rid of them. What cost 3,500 Rwanda francs is now being sold for 3,000 Rwanda francs.
The tremors are so bad it looks like the earth might turn over on itself. All of the products we sell in the market have been destroyed. Bottles are broken everywhere. The tremors have become so bad some people have decided to flee eastwards to other parts of the country, leading to bus shortages. Meanwhile, Congolese refugees have also been crossing back into Rwanda after initially returning home, after Mount Nyiragongo stopped erupting over the weekend, returning now because of the tremors and fears that even worse eruptions could be on the horizon. Authorities in Rubavu have been setting up tents and other necessities like clean water and electricity to cater for the refugees that number close to 500.
Now, while statistics show that at least 300,000 children are born in Rwanda each year, analysts believe that this leaves the country with a task of thinking about their future, such as access to housing, education, livelihoods, jobs, and many more. A cross-section of residents say that the population is growing big based on the number of children born annually. According to the National Institute of Statistics population growth projection, 364,342 children were expected to be born in 2020, but the number shows that 312,678 children are registered in the registry, equivalent to 85% of those who were to be born. The number of boys born was 158,450, while the number of girls is 154,228. As of 2019, 313,398 children were registered, or 87% of the 360,389 children that were expected to be born that year. Michael Ndachize is the director of Social and Demographic Statistics Unit and says that the pandemic is one of the reasons people didn't register their children in the civil registry. It was now made easier. They used to have to go to the sector, but now the child is registered immediately after birth. If someone gave birth at home, they should go to a cell nearby to be registered. It's a way of helping Rwandans register their children so that they are in the country's database. Dr. Joseph Nkurunziza says that although a big population benefits the country, they should work together with the government and stakeholders so that their future might not be a burden to the country.
That increase gives an assignment to all the stakeholders, including government, to sit and reflect and see what it requires, because that means every 10 years we shall be having maybe 3.2 increase on the existing population. So to me, irrespective of the fact that in economics, the increase in number, that means the clients are increasing, but again, that gives us an assignment to reflect on the infrastructure, on the environmental aspects, and also the quality of education, the health systems, or do the health centers or the these hospitals and the tertiary health facilities, do they have the capacity to be serving that increase in population?
Data from the National Institute of Statistics shows that last year, 124 men died for every 100 women who passed away, while 103 baby boys were born for every 100 girls. Also in the news today, this Tuesday, members of the Senate held talks with the Minister of Justice on the International Critical Review on Human Rights, urging that such assessments be based on a common understanding of the principles of democracy as Rwanda adheres to them. Jane Mutoni with the details.
The Senate Committee on Politics and Good Governance convened these discussions with the participation of all members of the Senate in order to see how the Senate could assist in the implementation of the resolutions in the Universal Periodic Review. Some of the questions asked by the senators included whether the review of the states themselves in a known manner included hearing of all sides and uniform policies towards human rights and democracy in general.
I wonder if you as representatives who get to be at the meeting venue in person do believe that those general guidelines considered when a country is commended or criticized, do they really consider every necessary element?
The Ministry of Justice, who is also the country's Attorney General, Honorable Johnston Businje, appreciates the fact that such an assessment contributes to the country's progress in respecting human rights. On one hand, he pointed out an issue of elements who go overboard when providing such recommendations, as different states should understand the uniqueness of each country on the principles of democracy and its promotion of human rights.
Sometimes it is necessary to say that we are not going to go with a certain decision because it would mean changing what Rwandans have built or achieved towards their vision. So the important thing is that what we are to do is for solutions to Rwandan issues, which also doesn't go against the principles of democracy, because democracy is viewed as a code which must fit everyone. Even in those developed countries, it can't be found anywhere as they describe it here.
Following the meeting, it was concluded that all organs, including the Senate itself, are going to continue to work together to improve the implementation of the resolutions of this review, and to do so while respecting the uniqueness of each country, as explained by the chairperson of the Senatorial Committee on Governance and Political Affairs, Honorable Dushimimana Lambert.
Abagera muri risuzuma ugasanga barashaka ko uko bigenda iwabo ariko bigenda hano.
Those who come to this meeting expecting that things should be done as it is in their home country must understand that just like how the histories of countries are different, likewise the implementation of those resolutions must be different. As a Senate or as a country, what matters is that we do what we have to do to implement those decisions in our own way. There are those who will not agree with us or agree but don't say it. But the fact is that we put in actions what we set ourselves to do, because actions speak for themselves.
In the most recent period Universal Periodic Review, in the first month of this year, Rwanda received a total of 284 resolutions, of which Rwanda is committed to implementing 160, as 75 resolutions have been implemented or are being implemented, while 49 of them Rwanda did not agree to them. Jane Mutoni reporting for RTV.
Now, as we mark Africa Day on the 25th of May 2021, the Pan-African movement has advised the youth on the African continent to stop looking for better life elsewhere because there's so many opportunities available right here in Africa. Gabi Muvunyi continues.
The two-day meeting was held under the theme Arts, Culture and Heritage, Levers to Build the Africa We Want. Epa Binamungu, who is an artist, says that artists and craftsmen have a major role in changing the perception of people on the African continent. He adds that support from their countries is also important.
Kumutunga ni organisation ijyanye n'ubuyobozi bw'igihugu.
Kumutunga is an organization that deals with leadership in the country. It is important that countries really support creatives like people who have value. This can be done by providing galleries or even museums, among others. The chairperson of the Pan-African movement in Rwanda reiterates that Africa needs more creatives that represent the African continent.
The liberational mindset is not yet universal. There are some who are comfortable to be where they are because of the conditioning that was created in through colonization, your colonization, the schooling system, and so on. They have accepted to be inferior to other people. So once you expect that you are going to be inferior and you think you will survive or grow by the effort of the others, then it's a big problem. That's what we call a colonized mindset, which we expect the media, the arts, culture, and so on can help to uproot out of the African people and create the Africa we want.
The Minister of Youth and Culture in Rwanda says that the youth have no reason to feel the need to seek better life outside the continent because there are so many opportunities available in Africa.
Also to stop it and to make sure that we have to put the right environment in our countries. I was giving an example of Rwanda, where young people used to go abroad looking for education. If you provide that kind of education in Rwanda, if you provide the kind of infrastructure in your country, if you provide that kind of enabling environment for the young people, of course they will not go. Instead, we have seen the reverse. We have seen young people, African, originating origins from Africa, staying elsewhere, and they come back. They come back with their skills, they come back with their knowledge, they come back with their talent to develop their Africa. They feel proud when they do it in their own country. So we encourage young people to explore, to exploit opportunities, but always bring back these opportunities into their own countries and grow Africa.
The National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda confirms a rapid growth in the creative sector, in the cultural, domestic and other services. It has increased from 9 million in 1999 to 308 billion in 2016. The meeting was held at Kanombe Arts and Crafts Center and brought together various country representatives. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
Many thanks, Gabi Muvunyi, for that report. Staying on that note, in celebration of African Day, the African Union's Agenda 2063 aspires for, amongst others, cultural identity and heritage that contributes to Africa's transformation. It's on this note that the Africa Fashion International today held an event that brought together African fashion designers under the theme, The Future of Retail in Africa. Now, we earlier spoke to Eli Niyonzima, a Rwandan fashion designer and founder of Masamara, based in South Africa, and we caught up about, among other things, how African designers can benefit from the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Take a look.
The future of retail is going, is adjusting well. Our people are finally understanding what's fashion and what's the dressing is all about and expression. So we're trying to take part in it, and also, so I believe the future is looking great. Our people are adjusting well.
There is a perception that Africa fashion is deemed expensive or low quality, hence why most people would perhaps opt for second-hand clothes. What's being done to change this narrative?
What we're doing is to try to change people's mindset, which means that, to show our strength, courage, and also show that, we can create things to the standard, So instead of looking to the internationals and or other places, we have to start from ourselves and believe that we can also do, we do have quality work. So by changing our mindset, I believe we can definitely change the perceptions of thinking that local or Africa is not quality enough. It's all mindset. And definitely, because we have our people wearing expensive brands. So definitely it has nothing with us to say that Africa is expensive and also Africa is not quality. It's just a mindset that we have to change and make people believe in ourselves.
In terms of textiles, African designers still compete heavily for imports. What should be done to increase supply chain for designers in Africa?
I believe, definitely we're having quite a very challenging when it comes to textile because we don't have a lot of, textile, manufacturers within Africa. So I think what we need to start looking into is to become advocates and also trying to make sure that investors come to invest within the textile, because it's a very big industry that needs to really be covered. In that way, will help the industry, African industry, to grow a bit better and faster as well.
And still, of course, speaking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that was launched recently, as we mentioned before, how significant is this for African designers in terms of you tapping into the African market?
I mean, it's a way. I mean, it would definitely facilitate us in a way of collaborating with other, African countries, and also trying to make sure that we can easily, support and assist. Because what we're doing again, it's all changing the mindset, of our people, and also making our people believe in us. So by working together, by having such hub, it will enable us to reach our people easily.
Very briefly, as we conclude this interview, could you tell us a bit about your experience as a fashion designer in the context of telling the African story? What drives you or what motivates you to do the work that you do for the African market?
So I believe that Africa has been misunderstood and also misrepresented. And as an African child, I feel it's my responsibility and duty to make sure that our story are properly told. And also that it's also, I feel like it's best to be told by African people, African children. And that's what drives me mostly in a way of making sure that we tell our own stories.
Eli Nyonzima, it's been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too as well.